I like to reserve our last segments for education, educational material, resources, self development. And so, what I'm finding out a lot in the market right now, as I visited with clients, as I talk to other consultants, is that we are, of course, we're experiencing an enormous amount of books being written more and more every year, more and month and every month on how to develop yourself professionally, how to become a good leader. It is really amazing how fast some of my executive clients and how the owners, how fast they read material. Okay, I can't read as fast as they do, and I'm often finding out what the latest greatest book is from them, and they send me referrals, and I scour them. I go into chapters, sometimes just read pages. But keeping yourself fresh on what's out there is extremely important. If you want to be a leader, you have to be a reader. Okay? If you want to be a leader, you have to be a reader. You cannot separate those two. You can't just have read books from 10 years ago and expect that that's going to cover you, and you can't expect that you're just going to read a little bit here and read a little bit there. You can't do that. Leaders read, and reading creates leading, okay, which is why I'm a huge proponent in early grammar stages of education for kids. Lots of reading, lots of reading, lots of reading, but I'm getting a little bit off the rabbit trail. But reading is essential to leadership. So break time out, dissect time to read. All right, so now what do we read? All right, so what I'm also finding out is that a lot of young leaders, especially the younger crowd, they are reading a lot. And I really appreciate the fact that they're reading, they're also listening to the podcasts. Podcasting has become much more famous, much more popular. Audiobooks, whatever. If you get that information in your head, what I'm finding, what I'm afraid of, however, is that what's happening is that we're forgetting some of those master books written 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago that are just foundational, that because those books set the tone for a lot of the more current books to be written. So what I'm saying, what I want to talk about is two books that I need you to go back to and read if you haven't read them. Yes, they were written over 10 years ago, over 15 years ago, but they are classics. You need to get these under your belt. And if you have read them, don't think, oh, you know what? Yeah, I guess I'll go back and read it. All right, just go back and do some refresh. But at least cover some of the fundamental pages. So the first book I have to recommend to go back to is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Fantastic. You got to memorize these 7 habits. These, when I first read this, I was still in school, and it was just a game changer. And I realized, wow, I don't know how to do any of this. But learning and memorizing what those 7 habits are is crucial. All right, for those of you that have read it and don't have time to reread it again, or for those of you that just, let me give you a real synopsis of what you should definitely be reading. Go back and read page 151, the whole chapter on time management. You have to learn how to master what Stephen Covey calls the time management matrix. It's the urgent, not important, and not, it's the important and urgent, not important, and not urgent matrix. On page 150, 51, 52, the surrounding pages, explain how to view your time and how to view tasks and the things that you should be managing your 8 to 10 hours on a daily basis by understanding whether items fall in a quadrant 1, a quadrant 2, a quadrant 3, or a quadrant 4. In a nutshell, you have to focus more on things that are in quadrant 2. And most of us don't do that. Most of us live in quadrant 1 or quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. Okay? Actually, most of us live in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3 because all we do is take care of fires and unnecessary evils. Okay? These are the interruptions. Well, I'll let you read the book. You go and read the book, page 151. But the goal is for you to manage yourself. Remember, we talk about management starts with managing self. All right, so this is the great place to start in this book. And to understand that in quadrant 1, if you live and you manage others from quadrant 1, you're creating crisis. Why? Because everything's a fire. Okay, you hold things in your head and then you want to push it to others in an urgent kind of way because you don't think they're going to approve it otherwise, or you wait to the last about things that should be talked about in a more of a quadrant two approach. Quadrant two says that those ideas and issues you want to talk about, bring them up earlier and set them up as goals and projects. So you learn how to think and how to propose and how to debate and how to discuss more from a quadrant one to a quadrant two, so that you get out of this left column. So you get out of urgent and you get out of unnecessary evils, okay? And you move more towards quadrant two and quadrant four. Quadrant two is where you focus all that energy to reorganize things into goals and projects and really well-designed structures of game plans and timelines and deadlines, structure rhythm meetings. And then quadrant four is those things like you're doing now. You're watching videos to educate yourself, where you're kind of just sharpening the saw and relaxing and improving yourself. That's quadrant four. So really spend a lot of time mastering this. If you can't read and devour this whole book yet, at least go learn and educate yourself on the quadrant, time management quadrant. All right, then the other one that I pretty much have based my entire coaching style and our entire Team Real World program on is this one called First Break All the Rules. This is a classic. It is a fantastic book. There's a new addition to this called The First. It's the manager. We'll cover that one later. But what you do is you go to page 28. On page 28, it lists out the rules that awesome managers do. And so the premise for the book is this: is what is the world's greatest managers? What is it that they do differently, okay, that help you become an extraordinarily great leader as a manager? All right. And so he boils them down to 12 things that awesome managers do. All right. And throughout the whole book, he outlines each one of these in a very succinct, very detailed way. So what I recommend you do is go to page 28 and memorize and learn page 28. Then go through the rest of the book and go one by one and understand how to make each one of these a reality. All right. So what we've done with this, okay, we've actually created, let me show you, we've actually created a management evaluation form. If you see it on the screen right now, all right, it's a management evaluation form in which we take those 12 elements that are brought out in this book and we teach managers how to do each one of these and how to incorporate them with the Stephen Covey, the Good to Great books, and then how to put all these principles and disciplines together. But it starts from being able to use the management evaluation form. Why? Because this management evaluation form keeps you as managers accountable. All right, so here's how to use it. You take this management evaluation form and you show it to your team members. Okay, you can even invite them to read the book. But you show this to your team members and you explain to them how you are now enlightened to commit yourself to using these disciplines as a manager to be a better leader for them, to be a better manager for them, and to serve them better, to be a better servant leader. And you go through each one of these, and of course, they're going to realize, are you really going to do these things? And you say, yeah, I'm going to learn to do these things. And what I want to do is every 3 months, every quarter, I'm going to give this to each one of you, and I need you to rate me. Okay, I need you to rate me whether you think I'm doing well or you think I'm not doing well. We have a much more complex form than this where you have 1 through 7, but I usually like to start with this very simple form, the first quarter. It either says yes, you're doing this, or no, you're doing this. I just need a yes or a no, and then give them the option to sign it at the bottom and turn it in anonymously, or go ahead and write their name, or even better yet, include HR and ask them to get these from you and to help you see what they're doing, see what they believe you're doing and whether they think you're doing a really good job or not. Then meet with them again, thank them for their critique, get ready for them to be very tough critique at first, thank them for it, appreciate it, then gird yourself back up and improve the next 3 months. Ask them to do it again the next 3 months, and what they will see is they'll see you be committed to these things because they're realizing that you are making yourself very vulnerable and you're making yourself open for communication, for criticism, for critique. It's a powerful, powerful tool. All right, so the books I recommend you to read are First Break All the Rules and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, page 151. All right, this brings us to the end of our program. Thank you guys so much for joining us.